TNT fam, and welcome to another episode of Cremas and Coquito, and I'm your girl, Kristina.
And as always, I'm Napoleon.
And today we have a very special guest. I'll let her introduce herself, and we're going to be talking about emotionally unintelligent men.
Hello, everyone.
It's the one and only.
I'm Victoria.
Hey! Well, thank you, Victoria, for joining us today. We're so happy to have you come on our podcast and talk about emotionally unintelligent men or emotionally unavailable men and how that shows up in a relationship.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay.
Have you been with an emotionally unintelligent man?
Okay, get right to it. So, yes, I would say I have. It's not easy to point out, but for me, it's just you start to notice things as time goes on and things get rougher and you have more challenges, and that's when it usually peaks and you notice someone is not really in tune with being emotional or conveying themselves in the proper manner.
So you're saying once you already get to know the person and you feel like you're already invested, that's when the emotional unintelligence shows up in the relationship and you feel like it's too late or you put already too much effort into the relationship?
Yes, oftentimes that is the case, and I do feel like that's happened to me where at that point you kind of just want to understand the person, you want to make it work, and so you go through it with them hoping that you can train them or give them advice to help them work through, whatever battles they have, whatever blockage they have, and it doesn't always end up in your favor.
So once that happens to you and you're with someone like that, let me know, how does that make you feel, and when do you know that relationship will shift? Like, give me some examples, like clear signs of when you say,
when you first see a red flag.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it's different for everyone, but I would say for times that I've experienced, it's when you kind of meet a conflict where both parties could potentially be right, and it's just kind of what you were used to before or accustomed to, and that person, knew the opposite of whatever the scenario is, and you kind of get to gauge two people approaching a new concept or something in their relationship, and the way they approach it kind of gives off what exactly they're able to handle and how they are reacting to what's happening.
Okay. So, would you consider yourself to be an emotionally unavailable man right now?
I would say it's highly likely.
and you have some red flags, but you are still with him and trying to make it work.
That's correct.
Okay.
Why are you with him and trying to make it work if you know that all the red flags are there?
I feel like I'm a person who has a lot of resistance, a lot of patience. So I try to either understand or I try to lead by example and show the person that, this is how you would want to act if you are, having a conflict and you want to let the person know, or, sometimes when you are right off the bat combative, that would just have the
opposite effect.
Exactly.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So do you think there's ever a point, is there a breaking point for you where you would say, all right, this is too much of not understanding or having a partner who's constantly emotionally unavailable?
There absolutely should be. There should be boundaries. And it's pretty sad because I don't have any, or I don't apply any. So I do feel, I should walk away at some point. But again, like when you have a lot of patience, you put up with a lot. And I've also seen a lot of progress and with my current boyfriend. So
you're going off of what could be instead of like what really is. So you see a lot of potential.
Exactly.
Okay. So, and I do know, not to put your man's business out there, but I know he is a high earner. So one question I do have is, do you think his pay kind of compensates for him being emotionally unavailable? Like, is that a huge plus so that you like turn the other cheek when
good question
he's being or not understanding?
Yes. So I'm not going to say it's because he's a high earner that allows me to put up with this, but I do want to say, you know, when you're in a situation, in a position, you know, in your career where you have constant high stress and just it's always go, 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 that does translate and you know, kind of goes over into your personal life. So it's hard to constantly switch it off when you know, walk out the door and out of the office. It's like, I understand what it's like to have a stressful work life. So I know that also comes typically with high earners, and that's why I don't want to say put up with, but
your understanding of it.
Exactly.
Okay. Got it. That makes sense. But since you've been in that position, that same working environment, and you don't act like that, do you think that's fair?
Oh, no, I'm no angel. So I actually have been like that. I'm not going to say this relationship. No, I don't. I think I've had a lot of restraint. I've had a lot of patience. But I've been on the other end where I'm kind of the aggressor after work, after hours. And I feel like, though, that really rests on the person that you're with. So at the time, I wasn't with someone that I really, really was into. So I didn't care to hold back. I didn't care to like control my anger, you know, my stress, you know. So, you know, that's not the best thing, but I have been in that position. So when you really like someone and you really want it to work, you should be able to control yourself at a greater level. So
you're saying you've done to people what your current boyfriend is doing to you?
Definitely not to his level.
Okay.
I just did have, you know, a little attitude here and there, you know, and just cranky. And I'm not going to say I was a bad person, but yes.
Okay. Fair enough. I like that. So I have another question. Because I know you've been in several relationships that the men maybe not have always been in emotional, maybe not have been understanding or have been emotionally intelligent. So that word keeps tripping me up. But what do you think attracts those kinds of men to you? Like emotionally unavailable men. What do you think there's something they see in you? Maybe like they know you have a lot of patience and other women might not.
Honestly, I'm tempted to say yes because, you know, I usually get that feedback early on, like, oh my gosh, you're so nice. Oh, how are you so, you know, like they see that they're with someone who listens, who doesn't get upset right away if they do something wrong. And so if you fall on the wrong person, they take that for granted and they take it completely the opposite direction. Instead of meeting you halfway, they start to say, oh, I can get away with more. I can do. So it's kind of, you got to watch yourself and proceed with caution.
Yeah, I was just going to say that maybe the men you're with, maybe they're a little bit emotionally unavailable at first, but then when they see that you're so patient and understanding, they take advantage of it, and then they become even more emotionally detached or not vulnerable because you allow it. basically, or they
Right,
see that they
right.
could get away with it. You know, men, you give them a little bit, they take more and more and more, and then they want to see what your
Yes.
threshold is. And if you have a high threshold, they just
Yeah.
keep reaching. And if you have no threshold, well,
Yeah.
sky's the limit for them.
Give an inch, they take a mile.
That's correct. That's correct. I will co-sign this. Ladies.
Thank you. Finally,
So-
a reasonable man.
Yeah, so for the men, on the men's side, why is it that men take advantage of women who are understanding, and then men can be emotionally intelligent, but then if they're with someone who allows them to be themselves and gives them this grace and space to be themselves, that they take advantage and become emotionally unintelligent.
You believe men become emotionally unintelligent, or because they're emotionally unintelligent, they're just overall these kind of men?
I think both. I think you could be emotionally intelligent and then see like, oh snap, I could be, I could take advantage, and so now you become like emotionally unintelligent,
So
or you choose just to be. Okay, go ahead.
So-
I already see your face.
So one doesn't have to do with the other, right? I know you want to correlate both with each other, but they do not have to do with one another, right? So what I would say is people who are emotionally unintelligent, they don't care about anybody. They don't know how to deal with emotions. That's why they don't live in that world, right? But when you correlate that with just men in general, and you're saying that it's just men that are emotionally unintelligent?
In most relationships.
Okay.
Women are too, because I could say in our relationship, I'm the one who's less emotionally unintelligent.
Oh, nice. Nice. You would say that?
I would say that. I would say you have a high emotional IQ.
Okay, so I never used to have this high of an emotional IQ. I think that my IQ was higher than most, but not this high.
So would you say because of the person you're with, they can bring an emotional IQ out of you, a higher emotional IQ out of you?
Depending on the woman that you're with, yes. If you already have the talent, right? If you already have all of that inside of you as a man, yes, she can bring that out of you. She can flourish it. She can nurture it.
Oh, so she can also bring it down.
Yeah,
so
she can
wouldn't
definitely
it
start to,
correlate,
like
like I said?
Say it again?
So doesn't it correlate like I just stated and
No.
you disagreed with it?
Not in the way that you stated it. So reframe your statement.
Then what I was trying to say maybe didn't come across that maybe a man can have a good emotional IQ, right? A high emotional IQ. But because the person he is with, maybe it can change his emotional IQ and lower it, because now he feels like he doesn't have to have a high emotional IQ because the person he is with can tolerate so much. So he can just be as mean or not understanding as he wants to be, because a man, again, will just
Anybody,
Yeah, that's true.
not just a man.
Well, I want to say a man. but
Everybody,
yeah, you're
human
right.
nature, whatever you let them get away with, they will get away with. That doesn't matter about emotional IQ. That's what I meant by they do not correlate.
Okay.
That's the only way that I meant. But yeah, so I didn't have a high emotional IQ before, but going through certain experiences, right, with you and within myself as well, and understanding what I'm put on this earth to do, and truly understanding what a man's purpose is, I think my emotional IQ has gone up because of it as well too. Because I am more aware of what I do and how it affects you. Number one, I am aware of what I do and the impact that it has on you and the whole entire family. So I think those are my driving motivators. And I don't know if that means that I have a high emotional IQ. I think now I just have focus. I have drive.
I think you're very understanding, and I correlate that with a high emotional IQ. You listen, patient.
But you're also understanding.
I would say she has a high emotional IQ.
Why would you say that?
Because she is understanding and patient, and she listens, and I feel like those are all qualities of a person with a high emotional IQ.
Wouldn't you say a person that recognizes what is being done to them, or if they're being taken advantage of, right, and know how to navigate out of that situation, would that mean that person wouldn't that mean that the person has a high emotional IQ, or does it mean that because they're aware of what's going on, does that only mean that they have a high emotional IQ? Does it mean, like, to me, is it the outcome, meaning that you finally get over the hump, means you have a high emotional IQ, or is it you understand it and you're okay with where you are?
Yeah, I think that speaks more to the mate, that you're taking advantage of me. You don't have a high emotional IQ, but me letting you take advantage of me, I don't think that puts my emotional IQ down.
Why not?
At a disadvantage.
Why not?
It just means I'm understanding and I'm willing to stay here.
And more stable, because you're aware and you could
leave.
Right.
So the outcome, like everybody is saying, does not matter.
Maybe that's the
IQ.
outcome the person wants.
So if you have a high emotional IQ, can you still pick the wrong outcome?
Yes.
You agree? If your emotional IQ is high, would you pick the wrong outcome?
So, for instance, you continuing to stay with emotionally unavailable person.
Right, but see, that's like assuming that I'm anticipating it to be the wrong outcome. I'm actually in the opposite direction. I anticipate it to have a great outcome, and I'm hoping the working progress will, give him time to come around and be better and realize I've stuck through it with him, and now he'll give a little as well. And
what is the time frame you put on that for him to get it?
Is there a time frame?
Is there a time frame? My fault.
Well, I'm no therapist, but I'm pretty sure it's nothing overnight, and it probably
years.
Yes, years, I would say.
So that's something you're willing to put up with for years until he becomes emotionally available.
So I wouldn't say I'm like so willing to put more and more years. I'd probably give it another year. Because I did see progress so far, and I just want to see continuation. If there's no continuing of, growth or, emotional stability, then yes, I will probably just have to call it a quits.
What if he lost his job? Would that change anything? If he was no longer a high earner?
Hell yes, I am putting up with no BS.
I know. Look. I know your answer already. We already know you. But if he lost his job, would you now go, there's nothing to stay here for, or would you still put up with it?
Wow, I never stopped to think of that, but no, I think I would still stick around, because it wasn't only the job. I've been with other people who I consider high earners or on the the greater average
pay scale.
Exactly. And I just feel it's more of your willing to grow and more of your ability to achieve. And I feel like he's shown me that, year after year. And he's been able to find multiple ways of bringing in income. So I'm confident that even if he loses his job, he'll be well equipped to start a business, let's say, or something.
So still money-wise, you see. So go ahead. I know you want to.
Hold up.
Wrong answer.
No, you go ahead.
So, okay, let's just say he's unable to work. He's not able to make any stream of income. Does that change? Well, he's still, maybe he's sick or whatever. He's unable to finance your lifestyle.
This is still as a girlfriend? I'm still girlfriend status?
Still girlfriend. And he's still emotionally unavailable, but now he just doesn't have the means to provide.
I do think that would add stress to the relationship and to himself. I feel he would not be able to handle all that, plus become a better person or emotionally stable. So I feel like it kind of defeats the purpose for me, and it's just when you have to stop and say, think of yourself, you know, you have to be selfish a little bit and say, can I hang on and put up with this? And I don't know that I can.
Why do you think that you attract high earners?
Because she's pretty.
Oh, that is so sweet.
No. Why do you feel like you attract high earners?
Wow, I don't think I attract high earners. I think I attract a variety, but I just...
You only go out with the high earners. You only
tolerate high earners.
Yes.
I'm really on the hot seat, huh? I don't agree with that, but it does appear so, you know. So I'm gonna have to say that I feel it's kind of indicative of someone who's working hard, which is what I need. I need someone who's constantly trying to navigate through life and keep busy. So it's just...
Your goals align.
Yeah, it's just incidental that...
So you go for people who have drive naturally. You go for people who are already doing something, who are just not stagnant. So,
exactly.
So you don't attract high earners. You attract motivated people. Because you know you'll always, okay, got it.
I would say that,
That's
yes.
Good. That is really good.
And they end up high earners because they're motivated. Like we
but,
always say.
But on the outside, we don't see that. So on the outside, we don't see that she's attracting motivators. We just see outcomes, like I say, and we see that she's always dated high earners. So that's very interesting for me.
I wouldn't say you date on potential. Maybe potential with emotional potential, but not with
finances, not with security.
Potential.
You don't play with security.
That's good. That's a really good thing.
Yeah, that's a really good thing. You don't play with security.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Would you say your other boyfriends were potential, or they were already where they should be financially?
So one was not financially where he should have been, or you know, whatever that is, but he was in a career that was recognized as something that was
going to...
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So stature, reputation, and security, those are high for you. Those are that's what you go for. No matter what comes at you, you'll always settle for stature, reputation, security, right? Someone that can provide, someone who's looked well, or even if he doesn't have it all together, people can assume he does because of what he does.
Right. So naturally, because it's not like I meet someone, I'm like, hey, what do? You know?
Yeah.
I usually actually let them talk about that. I let them bring up finances. But yeah, it just so happens that, you know, I kind of click more when there's someone who has things going on, intelligent things, and like good conversation. You know, typically people who aren't high earners are not going to be able to hold the kind of conversations I'm looking for.
So, do you believe in pretty privilege?
What's that?
Have you heard of
What's
pretty?
that?
Have you
I've never heard of that.
Pretty people getting privilege. Yeah,
so yeah, just pretty much pretty people getting privilege. So let's say that you're in a room with someone who is not pretty. We all know who's pretty, who's not pretty. We all rank each other. We're not saying that because you know whenever someone's ugly, everybody universally knows a person's ugly.
Yeah.
So we just can't play around like that, right? So
universally.
So those people have it on the opposite end because people overlook them. They're usually people's last option. You know what I mean? Like those kind of people have a certain kind of problem that not everybody has to deal with because not everybody's on that level. So on the opposite end, you have pretty privilege. So when you think of pretty privilege, you are the ones where even if you're walking out in the street or you're in a room with other pretty people, you usually are the one that gets selected. You're like the model type. You're the type that everybody universally thinks that you're pretty, whether you're their type or not. That's pretty privilege.
Wow, thank you.
I would say you have pretty privilege.
I appreciate that.
Me too. I would.
Would you agree?
No, I would. I would agree.
So I actually was thinking about this recently because I watched. I recently binge watched Too Hot to Handle. I don't know if you guys know that show.
No.
Nope, I don't.
Okay.
I've been watching Coco Melon.
So basically, they pick like really hot people, and even those hot people are like judging each other, and they're still looking for the the prettiest one, and
Exactly.
like everybody wants to get with that one pretty one, even though they're all. So it's just so ironic that you're bringing this up, because I feel like pretty people also experience those letdowns. Like, wow, I'm still not pretty enough, and I don't think it's a privilege. Sometimes it's a curse. People just look at you and they just attracted to you because of your looks, and then they move on when they find the next person that looks a little better, or in their opinion, you know. So it's kind of a curse.
So what I get from that is no matter how you look, it's always a curse. No, because for real, like it doesn't matter if
The grass is
you're
always
ugly.
greener on the other side.
Yeah.
Ugly
Doesn't
people
matter if
want to
you're
be
ugly.
pretty. Pretty
Doesn't matter if
people
you're
are
pretty.
like, damn, I'm too pretty.
Yeah, everybody has problems at the end of the day. So
Well,
the only thing that we can work on is our personality.
yes.
I mean, the things that we value. The
What
other
we
thing-
tolerate.
Exactly. We definitely should not be judging people in the way that they look.
But I do think that you get pretty privilege, and that is why high earners are attracted to you, because
Correct.
they want that model-esque, that trophy person
Also,
right next to them.
Also, a certain attitude too. You can't just be pretty
Yeah.
and not submissive.
And you're intelligent. You have a
Exactly.
good job. You've always had, good jobs. You go to school. You do everything you need to do. You have your own, what would I call it? Goals that you have accomplished
Right.
early on in life. So all of that put together, I think high earners definitely look at you and definitely wouldn't pass you up. And that is also why I say you don't have to put up with things as much as you do, as many things as you do. So I would say find a high earning, emotionally intelligent man that you don't need
Does that exist?
to show. Yes, they do.
No,
What do you think?
I don't believe that they exist much. The reason why I say they don't, because on the other, they have options. So when you have options, right, you behave differently. So people don't get that. People don't think that men also have options.
Yes.
And when we have money, it unlocks our options, and
Oh,
we get certain privileges too.
Exactly.
Exactly. So
So what would that privilege be for men?
she's experiencing it. They don't have to be emotionally mature
okay.
at all. They can be immature.
So your option is to not be a good human because
Be an a-hole.
yeah.
That's what you see not being a good human. They get along very well with a lot of people in
Yes,
life. They
this
get
is
along.
true.
People like them. It's
Just
like,
not the people they're dating.
who knows?
Because
but
you
can't.
can be the punching bag for them.
Exactly. I was
Yeah,
gonna
but that
say
doesn't mean that they're not a
And get
good
away with it.
person.
No, of course not.
Okay. Yeah, but that's why we gotta always not judge people because of how they treat certain people or one person or a group of people. Because
I judge, honey.
It's really hard not to judge when you're on the receiving end.
Oh
Yes.
yes, I agree.
Of course.
But-
I agree.
It's very true. I know a lot of people that would say, in my situation, my boyfriend's a great guy. And it's like, go.
Deal with him then.
Exactly.
Exactly.
When a guy sees a pretty girl, they might really, really like them, but they'll go for the girl that they think is more manageable, low maintenance.
That they can control more.
Exactly.
That's not what it is. That's what you guys think. So what it is, what it most likely is, because it's not what it always is, right? You may like the guy. You may think that he's attractive enough for him to come and talk to you, right? But he may look at you as way more attractive or somebody that he can't even step to. So he goes to the next best thing. So
Someone that's on his attractive level.
or someone that he knows he's going to get guaranteed instead of somebody he's going to chance getting turned down, because everybody can't take rejection.
right.
Wow.
So think about it that way. It's not always what you think it
you
is.
might be too pretty for someone to come over to you and try and get to know.
Even say hi. They'll like stumble over their words and you're like,
because we forget these people could have been somebody else in high school and
exactly.
had all these what is it called
What options? What are you talking
no self-esteem issues, and they still might have self-esteem issues
No matter how they look
How-
now or where
how
where
much
they
of
are.
a high earner they are.
Yep.
So That's true. I never thought of it that way.
I've had 2 experiences similar to like the situation where, you know, I like a guy, but like, and I know he likes me, but for whatever reason, you know, he never asks me out, and like, but he'll send hints, and it's like almost like they're waiting for me to make the move.
Yeah.
And then, but I'm thinking like, you know, I'm not
Making a move.
Yeah, I'm not making a move, and
I'm too pretty for that.
Do you,
actually no.
but do you send them a clear sign that you're interested, or whenever they send a hint, you're like, you didn't come at me correct?
Honestly, no, because I was just starting out in my firm. I was like way younger than them, and also like they're already in a position where it's like I feel like they're not going to look my way. I'm just like, you know, and so I don't think I'm enough for them.
But one thing we learned is men don't care how much money you make.
At all.
So you could have been the secretary.
And that's what happened. He ended up with the secretary. And I'm like, oh, man. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, like if I said something or, you know. And there was this other situation where this guy... he's an attorney. He had, you know, he knew me first, and then like, cause I'd been there for years, and then he ended up having a girlfriend, but he was like always flirting with me, always telling me, you know, like, oh man, like I can't believe, like I have a girlfriend, like, but I really want you, and it was just so weird, cause it's like, then why didn't you ask me out?
Yeah.
Why'd you go and get a girlfriend? And like,
But you don't think that was an opening for him to see if you were interested?
Well, now I'm not interested.
He went and he said that. Hold on. He went and he said that, right? Do you not see that as an opening to go and say, but I wanted you to when you passed me up, or whatever you want to say?
Well, I would never at that moment say that I wanted you
Got
to.
it. So that's the wrong moment.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he would leave his girlfriend in a heartbeat.
But that's what
he's already
that's what
saying
he's basically
it to you.
saying. That's what I'm saying. So he's coming out in that moment saying whatever, however it sounds, he's being vulnerable and telling you whatever he's telling you. So that's him practically telling you, if you want me now, you can have me.
Why couldn't he say that before?
Yeah, and
again, there's pretty privilege, and
But you have the guts to say it now after you have a girlfriend.
Whatever opportunity comes up, when it comes up, right? Because I believe guys are only as faithful as their options. Right? So if my options just got available, and let's say you're at home, right? And we already not getting along or whatever, and I find this next woman who's agreeable, who I know will be submissive, who I know would get on my program like that, why would I not go for that and continue to suffer at home?
What?
But it's back to what we were saying before, you know, sometimes they feel like they can control a certain person.
Yep.
They're gonna work less to get this type of girl, and
less high maintenance,
and it's less risky.
I like that.
But also to go back to what you were talking about, like, why would you stay with the person that you're having trouble with when you see another option of an agreeable person? That person is agreeable for that time. Let you have a whole relationship for years and build things together and have stress together. They're going to end up the same way your first one ended up. So when men say, oh, I have peace with this person, that's because she's only having the fun times. Of course you're going to have peace.
Right.
Or if you're going out to dinner all the time and not worrying about paying for a home or paying for kids, or of course, who wouldn't? I'd be agreeable too.
Yeah, so what you got to learn from that is the grass is always not greener on the other side. Just because that person temporarily looks like the better option, I believe you were with the person for a reason. That reason hasn't changed. You just now have your eyes set on somebody else, and now you're convincing yourself that you want to be with that other person instead of just appreciating what you have
At home.
Correct.
Okay, cool. That's why I'm with you.
You lucky.
Emotionally, I am, and so are you.
Yes, I am. That I know I am.
That's right.
Well, guys, this has been a hot topic. I hope you guys enjoyed our guest, who's been very open and vulnerable with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate you
My
coming
pleasure.
through, as always. And on that note, we are
Howdy.
bye.